There's a sentence I hear all the time as a coach. I'm doing everything and I can't lose weight. And I want to say this right up front, gently and clearly, without judgment. Most people who say this, they're not lying on purpose. They're not lazy and they're not stupid. They're not broken, but they are often protecting themselves from a truth that feels very uncomfortable. And that truth is where real change begins. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Shannon. I've lost 100 pounds naturally and I've kept it off for 8 years. This is the Strong Journey podcast, where we talk about taking life one step at a time. Here, I share my ramblings about what worked, what didn't, and all the things I wish I knew along the way. The good, the bad, and yes, sometimes the ugly. Here's something important to understand about human behavior. We don't change when change sounds like a good idea. We change when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. Until then, until that moment, our brains do something very clever. It protects us. They minimize, they rationalize, and they edit the story. Not because we're dishonest people, but because self-protection feels safer than self-honesty. When someone says, I'm doing everything, what they usually mean is, I'm trying really, really hard, care deeply, and I want this to work. And I really believe that. But effort and awareness are not the same thing. You can be working very hard and still missing key pieces. You can be exhausted and still not be consistent. You can feel deprived and still be eating more than you realize. That's not failure. That's being human. This is where I want to be very clear and very kind. This is physiologically impossible for a healthy body to consistently eat extremely low calories, say 1,200 calories a day, and not lose weight over time. When weight isn't changing, what's almost always happening is not that the body is defying physics, but that intake or behavior is different than what you're perceiving. And that discrepancy is incredibly common. And here's why this happens without blame. Bites, licks, tastes that don't get counted, oils, sauces, dressings and drinks portions, they creep up over time. And weekends look very different than how you eat weekdays. Stress, sometimes you're stress eating without awareness, and tracking inconsistently, compensating by moving less when dieting, hormonal hunger cues during stress, or even poor sleep. None of this makes you dishonest. It makes you normal. But awareness, real awareness, is a skill that changes everything. Here's the part that most people skip. Before your habits change, before your systems start to work, before the weight shifts, awareness has to come first. Not judgment, not punishment, not restriction, awareness. You cannot change what you're not willing to see. And you don't need to see it perfectly. You just need to see it honestly. I've had moments in my own journey where I truly believed I was doing everything right. And when I slowed down and looked honestly without shame, I realized I was inconsistent in ways that I didn't want to admit. I was underestimating certain habits that I held. I was overestimating other new habits I was trying to build. And that realization didn't make me feel bad. It made me feel empowered because once I saw the truth, I finally knew what I had to work with. Denial isn't something to be embarrassed about. It's a protective mechanism. It tends to show up when change feels scary, when identity feels threatened, failure feels too heavy, but staying in denial keeps you stuck. Awareness doesn't mean beating yourself up, or it means telling yourself the truth so that you can move forward. Here's the shift I want you to consider. Instead of asking, why isn't this working? Try asking something different. What might I not be seeing yet? This question opens curiosity instead of defensiveness, and curiosity is where behavior change begins. I want you to sit with this honestly and gently. If I say I'm doing everything, what does everything actually mean? Not what you aim to do, not what you wish you were doing, but what's happening most days consistently. consistently. That's your starting point. That's the part I really want you to hear. If awareness is the missing piece, that means that effort isn't the problem. And if effort isn't the problem, you don't need to try harder. You need to see more clearly. And clarity is learnable. Change doesn't begin with motivation. It doesn't begin with discipline. It begins with honesty, especially the honesty we avoid with ourselves. Not to shame yourself, not to punish yourself, but to finally give yourself the information you need to move forward. Awareness is not the enemy, it's the doorway. And walking through it gently, bravely, that's part of your strong journey.